you through my own LinkedIn profile. So that's what you see up on the screen, and show you how to create a strong profile and hopefully break the process down into easy steps. So I'm going to walk you through starting at the top of my LinkedIn profile and kind of working our way down. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, and you can follow my glowing green mouse along as I go. The first thing we're going to talk about is your photo, your profile photo. So you do not have to have a professional photo taken. Just include a recent photo that looks professional. You can choose a professional background. This is actually, I took this at a shopping mall. I found this pretty brick background that you see and decided to take a picture in front of that. So try not to include anything in the background that looks really cluttered. You should be the focus of the photo. If it's too busy around you, I would say try to just zoom in on your picture. And if you choose to include a picture with your kids, that's okay, but know that a recruiter or hiring manager might make a judgment. My best advice around this is ask yourself, is it the first thing you want them to see? So, for example, if you're trying to get a job working with kids and maybe in education or something like that, or maybe in daycare, a picture with kids or your family, I think, is a great idea. But for most other jobs, I would recommend to just have a picture of yourself. And kind of the same idea applies to your banner that you see right here. You can see my banner here. So LinkedIn has a lot of really nice templates that you can use, really easy to implement. And I would just suggest going with one of LinkedIn's templates to start with. And then later on, you can always customize your banner if you want. If you're a business owner like myself, you can put your logo up here and really customize it any way that you want. But again, just, I think, best advice for this section for your photos is just keep things really simple, clean, and professional looking. So let's work our way down here to your title. So, or your head. This is called your LinkedIn headline. So right underneath your name, so you can see I've got my some of my credentials listed next to my name, and you can definitely, I would encourage you to do that, to list any credentials next to your name. This will help when recruiters are searching for individuals with certain credentials. And then right underneath your name, you can see this is the LinkedIn headline. If you're looking for a job, my suggestion is to include your targeted job title and also your value proposition, what I refer to as value proposition, which you can think of that as how you can add value to a company or to a specific population. You can see in my headline, so I am a small business owner and I provide a service. So I decided to write my headline accordingly. I'm a resume writer. I specialize. Now, I included, this is something I actually did recently, is I included what I specialize in, helping moms re-enter the workforce. And I put some keywords in here as well, because again, if people are doing a search on LinkedIn, like, for example, potential clients, they're searching for a resume writer, these keywords are really helpful. So that's why you really want to spend some time on this section of your profile, because this is how recruiters are going to, or hiring managers are going to find you. So you want to put your targeted industry, or you can put your current job title, your targeted job title, and or your targeted industry, so that you can be easily found. A couple examples of, so you can see my headline, but a couple other examples of some headlines for an individual working in the field of education. This is an example of how this person could give themselves a title: passionate curriculum developer. I help K-12 educators develop differentiated teaching strategies to better serve special needs populations. Another example, this is for an individual in the field of marketing: communications and marketing manager. I get energized by helping organizations increase customer satisfaction by planning and executing customized product launches. So finally, I wanted to mention If you are actively searching for a job, this is really important. You can see where my mouse is here, the open to. So you can click on open to. You can click finding a new job if you're an employer, hiring, or providing services. And that's something that I have set up for my profile because I provide resume writing services. So for finding a new job, I'll show you. So this window will pop up and you can write the kind of work you're open to, some job titles, workplaces, the type of environment, the location, when you're wanting to start working immediately, or you're flexible, casually browsing. And then this is really, and then job types, right? Full-time, part-time. Now, this is really important. Down toward the bottom, you can see choose who sees you're open. So this is very important because if you are currently employed and your employer's on LinkedIn, you probably don't want them to know that you're searching for a job. So you can click on this field and it says, who's going to see that you're open to work? All LinkedIn members, which I would not recommend if you are currently employed and you don't want your employer to know you're looking, or you can check recruiters only. So people using LinkedIn Recruiter. And that way, only recruiters actively searching for candidates will see that you're open to work. The next section I'm going to cover is the About section, and it's a really important part of your LinkedIn profile because it is toward the top, and employers will likely read it. So this section can read similar to the profile or summary on your resume, but it's going to be more in depth. At a minimum, I would suggest trying to get a couple paragraphs written in this section. You can always add from there. Your LinkedIn profile you can think of it as being always a work in progress. It doesn't need to be 100% perfect when you're creating it, but you want to have something written in this section, ideally. I suggest writing in the first person. Your resume is typically not written in the first person, and it's pretty dry, a little boring sometimes. And so this is a really big opportunity for you on LinkedIn to show some of your personality and passion for your field. If you just copy and paste information from your resume, I tell clients this all the time, what is the point of having a LinkedIn profile? It should really be something that shows an employer more of who you are, what makes you shine, how you go above and beyond, and how that can translate into helping your targeted field and or organization. In the first paragraph of your About section, you can start by talking about what is your field or targeted field and specialty. What are you most passionate about and why? And then most importantly, how does this translate? How do your biggest passions and strengths translate to adding value to a company? This is an example. I'm going to give you an example of a returning parent who is targeting the field of event planning. And so this is an example of an introductory paragraph. I recently took time away from the paid workforce to raise my 2 children. During this time, I honed my organizational, time management, event coordination, and calm under pressure skills. I look forward to translating these skills into a position in event planning. You'll notice how this job seeker they mentioned their career pause, but they used it to their advantage, and they were really strategic about emphasizing the transferable skills that they gained during their work pause, during their career pause, and the skills they gained while working inside the home, and how that can benefit an employer who is hiring for an event planning position, or how that can make them an effective and successful event planner. In your second paragraph, you can tell a story about your career. I don't suggest including your entire life story. No one has time to read that. You do want to go in depth in this section, but you also don't want to go too in depth. Make it purposeful. Every paragraph in this section should relate to your past experience, education, and skills as they relate to your current career goals. So if there's anything from your background that does not relate, that you cannot make a connection to your career goal, I suggest leaving it off. So I'll give you an example. So let's say that you're changing career fields and your past experience has been in sales, but you're targeting a job in finance. You're definitely going to, obviously, because most of your experience has been in sales or all of your experience. So you're going to write about your experience in sales, but I suggest doing it in a way that explains how you will use the skills that you gained in sales or whatever industry you have experience in. So, for example, you could talk about working with numbers, customer service, and problem solving, all transferable skills that you gained in sales, and how that can help you succeed in the field of finance. So, in other words, you're connecting the dots for an employer. You're saying, look, my goal is to get a position in this XYZ field. I've got experience in this other field. And even though when you think about it, it might not relate, it actually does, because I gained all of these amazing transferable skills and experience, and I can use that to be a really valuable employee and to contribute to your organization. Your story should make sense. So I recommend starting early in your career, like with your education or college degree, or if you've got like a master's degree, and then moving forward from there. But every piece of your story should relate to your current career goal. And again, that most important piece of making the connection between your past experience and skills, strengths, your passions, and how that can add value, how you are a valuable employee. I'm going to show you and we're going to talk about my about section here really quick. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'll just point out a few items from it. So my about section is going to read a little bit differently than, say, an employee or a job seeker on LinkedIn who's looking for a traditional job. I am a small business owner. What I'm trying to do on LinkedIn is attract clients. And so that's kind of what I have. I've written my about section accordingly. I started by talking about who I specialize in helping, which is moms returning to the workforce. And then I also go on to kind of weave my story in, my personal story, and really showing a lot of who I am and what I'm really the most passionate about, and that's having kids. And I took a career pause and focused on being a stay-at-home mom, which I'm super proud of, and I'm not going to hide that. During that time, I loved caring for my daughter while simultaneously starting a career blog to hone my writing skills and help other moms navigate their careers. You'll notice how I talk about my career pause, and I also weave in the transferable skills that I built during that time. In addition to the writing and editing skills I honed, I acquired parenting skills, and here again I am listing transferable skills that can be used and beneficial in any industry. Skills like juggling multiple priorities, handling stressful situations, adapting to change, and of course, controlling my anger. I'm sort of joking there, but kind of not at the same time. I'm sure all you parents out there can relate. Fast forward to the present, I'm raising 2 kids while running my online blog and business. I talk about, again, my passions, and then I go on to discuss how I can help, the populations that I focus on helping, and how I can help people. Again, this will read differently for, like, let's say I was targeting a more traditional job at an organization. Then I would definitely rewrite a lot of this about section to be focused on my story, but then how my story relates to my career goal of getting a position in whatever organization I'm targeting. Hopefully that makes sense. Down below your paragraphs, I would recommend including something like, it doesn't have to be exactly this, titled like this, but certifications, trainings, affiliations, and then I listed all of my memberships, my certifications, my education, and then also my specialties down below that. And this is another opportunity to include keywords so that you can be easily found by employers on LinkedIn. So I really recommend to take advantage and include those keywords, similar to what I was mentioning up above here with in the previous section when I was talking about your professional title, including keywords, and then also your headline as well. Let's talk about the experience section of the LinkedIn profile. There is a really cool new feature that LinkedIn recently implemented, and I'm going to show that to you first. You can see this under experience here, this little plus sign. So if you click on that, you have the ability to add a career break. And then from there, you can you can select the field, select what type of career break or the reason for your career break. Tons of different reasons here. Whatever the case is, you select that. Currently on it, the location, start date, all that basic information that you would list for a regular job. And then down here, this is the most important part, is the description. I recommend, regardless of why you've taken a career break, it's not, try not to think of it as a negative. This is it's an opportunity here for you. And this is what I was talking about in the prior section when I was covering the about section. This is an opportunity for you to, again, connect those dots, let an employer know what value, how does this career break, what were you doing during the career break, what skills did you gain. You could have been taking courses, you could have been traveling the world and learning about different cultures, maybe you were volunteering. But the important thing is for you to tell your story, because if you don't describe how whatever you were doing and really emphasize the skills that you gained or the training or experience or whatever it was and how that can benefit an employer, the employer is going to tell your story they're going to assume what your story is. If you say, oh, I took a career break and I was I don't know, to go back to school or something. Maybe that's not a great example in this case, but let's say that you took a career break to care for a loved one. An employer might assume, oh, well, that's just an excuse. You know, they probably were just sitting around watching Netflix and eating popcorn most of the time. They are going to write a narrative for you. They're going to write your narrative. So don't let them do that. Don't let an employer make assumptions about what it is that you did during your career pause. You need to really, again, take control and write your own narrative. And it all goes back to the skills that you gained, the experience you gained, and how you can use that to be a total rock star in this job that you are targeting. Another thing that is, I believe this is relatively recent on LinkedIn, is that you can actually list your stay-at-home mom experience like a job. And this is really, really cool. So you see here on my profile, I've got my stay-at-home mom experience listed on my LinkedIn profile. I got it loudly. I list it loudly and proudly. I am not trying to hide it. I am super, super proud of being a mom and raising little humans. And you can see here, I mention my kids and about how passionate I am about being a mom. And then underneath, I list transferable skills that I've gained as a mom. I don't recommend that you just copy and paste your resume. I know a lot of people do that, but going back to, if you're just going to repeat your resume, what's the point of having a LinkedIn profile? I have a helpful strategy that you can use sort of in terms of how to list or how to structure your the content when you're describing your experience. So what I would recommend is to have, you can see here, let me scroll down here, show you another example of an experience that I had. Here we go. Is to write a paragraph to start kind of summarizing what your role is or what your role was. It doesn't have to be really long. And then underneath that, having something like highlights or highlights of achievements, and then having some bulleted phrases of accomplishments, and or you can think of it as ways or how you went above and beyond in your role, how you really stood out, how you added value to the organization. And then an employer reading this will make the connection of, oh, wow, I mean, they did a lot of great things here in their job, and they could do similar things for our organization. Moving down here, I'm going to talk briefly about, oh, let me get out of here. I got to get out of this window first. Go back. Education, you definitely, before I get to skills, you do want to list your education for sure. And you can also join alumni groups on LinkedIn. That's a great way to build your connections on LinkedIn as well. So list your education, definitely include your skills. And then finally, recommendations. I know that recommendations is kind of toward the bottom of your profile, but I encourage all of my clients and all job seekers to really get as many recommendations as you can. Even if you're not currently looking for a job or you're not quite ready to jump back into the paid workforce, you should always be seeking out individuals, people you've worked with in the past. Even if it was a volunteer job, that still counts as work experience. And any kind of contract positions, freelance, that type of thing. It can be current coworkers. Reach out to folks, say, hey, if you write me a recommendation, I would be happy to return the favor. This is really a great way for a potential employer, to get an idea of the type of employee that you are. Don't ask people who are going to just write you a really generic recommendation like, oh, this person showed up for work on time. That's that can actually hurt your candidacy versus help. So you want to be strategic about who you ask and make sure that it's people who really have your back and who are going to write a really in-depth, glowing review. And it also helps to let people know the type of job that you're targeting or the field you're targeting, and what maybe some of the strengths that you want them to focus on, or what you want them to mention in the recommendation. Thank you guys for watching my LinkedIn video. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos just like this one to help you advance your career.